So welcome everybody. Today's session of Google Club or Google Club meeting is synchronous instruction ideas using a couple of different Google tools. We're going to look at slides, Jamboard, photo, and search today. Again, all of these tools could be used obviously for asynchronous activities and just for fun in life and productivity, whatever, but we're going to focus on them with the idea of synchronous activities, and that means activities that we are doing together or that will be done in the room together when we're all in class or on a Zoom together. You'll notice here's our agenda. Who can tell me why these different elements on the agenda are underlined and in a teal color? What do you think what's special about them? And you can put in the chat, you can unmute.
Are they like hotkeys?
They're hotkeys. They're basically hyperlinks, right? So the idea here is that you can scroll over these and click on them and it will take you to that section of those slides. So the slides act a bit like a book. So when you come back to them, and I actually in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and give you a link to the slides. So that way you can move around inside the slides without later on. Today we go step by step kind of, but when you come back to the slides, you can move around inside the slideshow without having to go in order. So the objectives today are, we're going to kind of go over creating content using slides, Jamboard, photo, and search. We'll make sure that you feel comfortable sharing the content that you create and that you can have ways to help students share their content too. And then think about lessons or begin the idea of developing lessons using these tools or any one of these tools. Next. So I always ask the question, if I want to get to a Google tool, and this is already kind of showing you that, but with any of the tools we're looking at today, if you type the name of the tool and then .google.com, you'll get to them. What are some other ways you can, if you wanted to make a new Google Slides today, how would you get there? Does anyone want to tell us their process for starting Google Slides or creating a Google Slide deck? What will be the first step? You can unmute.
Go to Drive.
Go to Drive. Fantastic. So if you're in Drive, how do you find slides? A new
Under New.
Under New. Beautiful. So that's one way, right? And I don't know if that's true for you, Lori, but I always have my Drive open. Whenever I open my browser, I have a set of tabs open and one of them is my Drive. So that's definitely the way that I would get there. If you don't have Drive open already, this is a shortcut, right? So you could just type in slides.google.com. Any other ways that people get to these various tools? There's a delicious food that we sometimes talk about.
The waffle.
The waffle, fantastic. Lizalena, if you want to click one more time, I think we'll see our waffles.
Hey.
One more, there we go. So those are our waffles, those 3x3 little squares, we call it a waffle. If you're using Chrome, you might see that. It doesn't always display, but if you see that and click on it, you should usually see all your different tools. There's also that tip at the top there, Melinda's tip, which is actually just slides.new. If you're in Chrome, will work. The difference between going to slides.google.com and slides.new is slides.new opens a new slide presentation without showing you templates or anything else. If you do slides.google.com, you'll come to a place where you actually can see all of your previous slides and you'll see templates. So it's like one more step to actually get to your slides, but you can organize your slides more easily that way. Fantastic. All right, moving on. I think the next slide is, so if you want to move past slides and go straight to the Jamboard, Lizalena, and then it's all yours.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, Nell, for allowing me to begin with my favorite G Suite app, which is Jamboard. So before I share again, and this is very hands-on, and I'm going to go slow, so we kind of remember if you're familiar or kind of discover things about Jamboard if you're new to it. So in the chat, let's have a kind of a waterful chat. So are you familiar with Jamboard? Yes or no? In the chat, I want to see what we got. So today, are you familiar with Jamboard? Yes or no? So I want to see that fast. Okay, go. No. All right. Okay, perfect. So thank you for sharing a little bit. So about that. When you think about shareability, when you think about collaboration, when you think about synchronously instruction graphic organizers, pictures, breakout room, in-person gallery walks, I think Jamboard is a very, very useful tool that we're gonna look at today. So Jamboard, it's what Google calls a collaborative digital whiteboard, right? You could think about a whiteboard, right? And you can think about that digitally. So whatever you were doing before in person or with papers, think about digitally transition to that. So you could use it synchronously, as Nell mentioned, asynchronously, super useful. You can share it like any other Google app, right? There is the same way to share it. You just need to share a link, and their shareability, accessibility, that we're going to talk a bit about it. And you can use it for so many things, right? And we're going to share a little bit of different ideas on how to use this in the classroom. And I'm going to take you right to the tool, so we kind of work with the tool as we kind of discover everything about it. So give me a minute and let me call it. So as Nell said, I'm going to start since the beginning. And let's say my favorite way to call the tool is actually through the waffle. So I'm going to show you my drive. That's my favorite way, my go-to way. So look at my waffle right here next to my L, right next to the LIC logo. There is the waffle, and that's how I'll call my Jamboard. So take a look. I love about one of the other things I love about Google is the way they use the colors to remember tools and the logos of the tool itself. So if you quickly go look at slides, I use the slides all the time. Next to it, look at the sheet. I do a lot of budgeting and managing, whatever. So a sheet is very useful for me. And look at forms. And right next to contacts, look at Jamboard. And that's the logo for it. So I click on it, and then I take you to my Jamboards, right? So look at the many Jamboards, not that many. I mean, I actually use my other Gmail account to use Jamboard for some reason. But look, I have moved some of it here. So you see everything that I have done with Jamboard with this account. And if I want to open a new Jamboard to work it out with you, where do I go? Do you see anything right here that indicates how to open a new Jamboard to work together? Do you have any suggestion on how to create a new one? Silmarie, go ahead. I think you got it.
The plus sign.
The plus sign. There you go. I'm going to check my chat a little bit. Okay, not still. No. So again, I moved. My favorite way is to go to my waffle. I go to the drive, as Lori said. I click on my waffle and I find my logo for the Jamboard, right? And then that's it. You see my repertoire of Jamboards, and then I want to create a new one to work it with you today. And then I click on the plus sign. The plus sign you can find if you lower your eyes, right? You go to your lower right corner, and there is a plus sign, and you click on it. And I'm going to do it right now. Again, lower right corner, you click on the plus sign, you hover over, and you see a new jam, right? And then you click on it, and voila, we're going to have a new jam, untitled jam. So think about a digital whiteboard. It's unfinished right now. It's a template. It's a blank canvas for us to work together. So you got it in front of you. There are two ways I want you to, there are two important bars that I want you to remember: the top bar and the left side bar. And we're going to briefly go over it because we got a lot of no's in the chat. So there is the top bar, and there is also the left bar, which are called your tools, right? Your utility tools, or the tools you need to paint this jam. One thing I do right away is I like to label my jams. So I go right here next to the logo, and right here means to the upper left corner, and it says untitled jam. I'm going to name it, right? I clicked on it, and I'm going to say practice Google Club. It is very useful for me because I have a million jams, that I use. So I want to create a label that makes me remember and makes me find it if I want to go back and reuse it. So that was the first thing I did. I rename it. I don't want to have a name, no label, jam, and I have it. So we briefly go over the panels to kind of tell you how useful they are, right? So right here, the top panel, you have, you can change your background. Right now we have a white, blank template. You could have dots. You could have notebook, lines. You could have, look at this for math, how useful that is. You could have this for math too, depending what colors you like. You could have a blue. You could have a black, right? Or guess what? This is kind of one of the most recent additions, which is you could have your own background, the one you want, and you could look for images. Say you want to say Thanksgiving, and I want to have my template with Thanksgiving food, and look at this. So I select my image and I set it as a frame background, and all of a sudden, that's the background we're going to have today, right? So again, top bar, set background. You have several choices. And one of my favorite is actually when you Google for image, right? So you could customize your lesson very easily by bringing over an image that has to do with the lesson you're teaching or anything you like, really. So again, that's found on the top panel right here, set background. Let's say I don't want to use my turkey anymore. I undo it, right?
And Liz Elena, I've been having a little back and forth with Judy Shack about annotating in person classes, and I was thinking that you could put like your actual, a piece of writing or whatever behind as your background, right? And then you could use all these tools to write on top of it.
Exactly. And this is for annotation. Actually, let's talk over when we get to the use of it.
Perfect.
So clear frame is clear frame. You could clear your frame like here, or you could actually undo whatever you're doing. And this is very useful too, because you could fit it, or you could actually amplify. You could augment the screen right here, or go back to fit, the screen, or actually you can zoom out, zoom in. So you have all those choices right here. So right on top of that panel, you see right here, where's my laser? Right here. So you see right here, that's not working on the dot, right? Numbers. So that's the name of the frames. So right now we're on frame number 1, right? But if I can expand the frame bar, right? I can expand the frame bar. Look at this arrow pointing down. You could click on it or you could expand it, right? And you could actually add frames. You could add frames. And that's very useful for synchronous teaching, because you could have students in group working on different frames and you could see what they're doing on the spot, right? By expanding this panel. And we're going to talk a little bit. Let me check the chat. Oh, cool. Yeah, this tool is pretty good, actually. So I'm going to collapse the frame again. And again, look at the arrow. You could expand it. And once you have more than one frame, you could navigate from frame to frame by clicking on the arrow pointing right. So I go frame 2, frame 3. If I add another frame, there you go. See? So while your students are working synchronously on these frames, depending on the assignment, you could actually, by expanding the frame bar, see on the spot what they're doing without actually necessarily visiting the breakout room. So I think that's very useful. So I'm going to collapse again. Okay. When you go to your frames, another really useful thing that Jamboard has is kind of go to the 3 dots and you could actually duplicate your frames. So, or you could delete the frame. Say I just want to go back to one frame, so I'm going to delete, and I just keep in one frame. And you could actually duplicate this frame if you want once it's ready. And we're going to do it together and just see how useful it could be when you're creating assignments. I'm going to see if you have any questions about this top tool. So each breakout room could have a frame. Yes, Lori, and we're going to practice that today. So we're going to have little breakout rooms today for you to practice, and I'm going to assign frames to each of the groups. The way I typically do it with the students or with teachers when come to my workshops. Why would you want to duplicate the frame? I want to duplicate the frame because if I have 4 groups working with me synchronously, I want each group to have their own assigned frame. Or if I'm working with individual students, right? And they're writing, they're practicing writing, I want each student to have their own frame that I'm going to assign. Of course, it doesn't automatically assign, so I'm going to assign. It's how you build in your lesson, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Any other question about the top frame? Anel, please jump in. I know you use the tool very. Anything I'm forgetting? So the top frame, and also the navigation upper frame. I'm going to wait a little. Look at the chat one more time. Oh, I see. Yes. So Margarita, if you could do it on Spot, you could do it before students stand on the assignment. Yes. Depending on the assignment, if I need them to, if I want to be ready, when I said, okay, in your breakout room, so I duplicate my my frames, but depending, right? Maybe you want to do it on the spot. So we're going to try it. We're going to do that. So I'm going to move to your utility tools that are right here. And you see the pen, the eraser, the select button, which I don't use more, the sticky notes, the pictures, the shapes, text, and the laser. I'm going to check this. Okay. So let's kind of briefly go over it. So you get the pen, right? So you have a variety of colors, not many, but blue, the basic ones, blue, green, red, yellow, transparent, and you have different type of, let's say, markers. So you have a pen, you have a marker, you have a highlighter, and you have a brush. If you're doing some, let's say I'm gonna go with my L. So that's the pen. I'm going to be blue now. I'm going to use the other one. This is another way. Look at the thickness vary. This is the marker, right? The highlighter, very useful when you're doing annotations or when you're reading and you want the students to kind of highlight the gist or the main idea or the object, depending on what your lesson, right? And you have a brush if you're painting or feeling something, and you could change the colors. Again, look at that, how pretty. But all of a sudden, I don't want to do this anymore. So I could clear the frame, or I could use the eraser and go like this. Gone. So I'm going to clear the frame. So very useful. The only thing is, of course, it requires practice. Some people use the digital pen, the stylus, but once you get used to the paint, actually, you become really good with it. I actually write look at that, pretty decently. I'm going to delete it again. So that's the eraser. The select button is to select what you're doing, but I don't use it much. The sticky note, a big favorite. So in the sticky note is, imagine like one of those sticky notes, right? That I love in person to kind of stick to my readings or to leave people messages, right? You have different colors. You simply type and you save and you click out. All right. So sticky notes under select. Let's say I'm going to do blue. I'm going to say hola in Espanol. I'm going to save it. And there you go. And they're movable, right? You can play with it. I'm going to check the chat. All right. Then another interesting, useful for synchronous, asynchronously, amplify the concept you're teaching, to model something, to demonstrate something. You could add images. So you click, you can upload your own images, or you could actually search. And you say apple. And I'm going to insert an apple. And there you go. So again, image, right? You could upload your own image that you have. I don't know if I have many images. Let's see, this is my own computer. Let's see, when I was preparing today, let's see what logo is this. I'm going to add a logo. There you go, DY City logo, very good. So that was my own image, or I could search. I could search the web, Google Images. Another thing that I find very useful when I prepare my graphic organizers, or when the students prepare their own graphic organizers, is the shape. So you click on the shape, and let's say I'm doing a Venn diagram. So I'm going to click on this, do it. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to do my other graphic, organizer. You could start like that. So those are the circles. You get right here the rectangle, right? Rectangles, circles, the triangle for math. So this is all very useful. And then another useful feature is the text. Let's say you don't want to type, you don't feel comfortable writing with the pen because it requires practice for it to be more legible. You could actually type. My name is Liz. And there you go. So those are the two, and this is the laser, which you, of course, look at my apple. This is my name. This is the DYCD logo, so you can bring attention to that. The utility tools to your left are the things you need to use to paint your lesson, to bring alive the frame that was once a blank template. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna see. Okay, I'm sorry, I did not catch up how you got the apple into a sticky note. Could you repeat that? So the way I got the apple, I go to my utility tools. Every time you think about, oh, I want to add a shape, oh, I want to add a picture, oh, I want to add that, you go to your utility tools, right? And they're very self-explanatory. So when you hover over, you see image. So I went to Google image and I said, I'm going to say now turkey, right? I'm going to say turkey. So I found my turkey, I click on the image, which is very similar to slide, I believe, right? The same mentality. And I insert it. And then I have my turkey and I'm going to put it inside. I'm going to put my turkey inside my shape. There you go. And then the other question was, okay, could you get me into a sticky note? Okay, so the sticky note, again, every time, remember that you say, I want to do something with this. I want a shape. I want to add a sticky note. I want to add text. You go to your left, go to your utility tools, and then you click right under select, the sticky note. You click on the sticky note. I'm going to make it pinky, right? And I say, I love pink. And then that's it. And they're movable. You could move it around. See the three dots? So you could edit this. You could duplicate it, you could order it, bring to front, bring to back, you know, which are things that are very similar in Google Slides. So that's how you are kind of building your frame, which if you think about it, it's like a slide. It's less powerful because guess what? We cannot add videos, right? We cannot add voice to frame. So this is a tool that you can use for teaching for many purposes, but not necessarily for video and audio and voice. I'm going to check my chat again. Can you add a picture to a sticky note? Well, I could put it over and I could say, let me bring it to the, send it to back. Oh, there you go. So I could send it to back, send it forward, but I don't think it could go. I'm going to bring it to the front again, but I don't think you could put it inside the sticky note. Okay, you could move, you could put it, let's say I'm going to do this. I'm going to say apple, right? Apple. And I want to kind of have an image of the apple, so I can go like this, right? I can kind of put it together like this, kind of pointing. So I'm going to bring it to the front. See? So kind of like you're sticky and then you kind of put like the apple. So if you want to kind of call the attention, right? You could do that. Let's say I want to tell my students I put inside my shape the turkey and I want to say this is I'm teaching Spanish, right? And I want to teach you how to say turkey. So I'm going to write pavo. Pavo. Okay? Es un pavo. So you got es un pavo, right? You call your attention with the laser. I'm sorry, that was a Spanish interfering with my language right now. So this is the turkey, and in Espanol we say pavo, which I just wrote. So I'm going to stop again and see if you got more questions. Okay. So let me show you. Moving next, let me share ideas that you could do synchronously, and of course asynchronously. But let me share a little bit. All right, let me take you to my jams. Okay, so I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways to use Jam is to brainstorm ideas. So this was, and I believe still Marie was in that during this training. So this is the KWL. I said that for me, graphic organizers, I don't like to use paper anymore. This is amazing, even in person. This is my version. This is a version of a KWL. What I know, what I want to know, what I learned. So we were introducing a strategical questioning the author to teachers. So my graphic organizer had 4 columns: what I think I know, yes, I was right, misconception, new information, and what I still want to know. And while I was teaching, while I was presenting the strategy to the teachers that were in the session, this was the collective graphic organizer we were using to capture information, and for me as a teacher to formally assess understanding of the strategy we were using. And I asked my participants to actually use the sticky note to add ideas under each of the columns. This was done asynchronously. When I was ready with my template, right? When I called my participants to fill out, I was ready with my template, and I walked my participants, and I said, we're going to use a sticky note. And, you know, I kind of sample how to use a sticky note, and they were filling it out while I was teaching this to them. Very useful. So it was a collective graphic organizer. I didn't duplicate it because I wanted everyone to kind of use, kind of look at each other's answers. So in this case, it wasn't necessary to duplicate. How did I build this? So simple, right? I had my frame ready, right? And the way I did was, I set a background. I had this picture ready. I had this frame ready. And I went over here. I uploaded from my samples. I went to my documents. I went to Lizzie, right? And I call, I think it's called questioning the author, right? So I guess I don't find it, but I had the template ready. I call it and I upload it. And that's how it happened. So it wasn't something I brought over from the internet, but I had it ready. And one benefit of setting it as a background is that when I share it, my participants couldn't change anything. It was fixed to the background, so they weren't able to mess up with my design. And the way I did was set it as a background. So let me share this link with you, and I'm going to give you, okay, copy link, done. Grab that. Boom. So if you grab that link, the way I share it is that you can view it, but you cannot edit it, right? So you could control, while you're synchronous teaching, you could control the shareability. Let's say you want your students to only look at, I want you to only look at it. So when I share it, right, I give you view only. But let's say now it's time to play. I come back and I actually make you an editor. And I go done, you know, boom. Now you should be able to edit. Please don't mess up with frame number 1. If you want to play with it, let's go to frame number 2. If you would, please. So go to navigate to the frame number 2. If you remember, go to the top panel, hit the arrow that goes to number 2, and then use sticky notes. Go to your utility tool. Click on the sticky note and say, I'm here. See? So I'm on frame number 2. Number 1, please don't do it. Navigate to next frame. Navigate, click on the arrow that points right. And click on the...
It looks like we have view only.
Oh, really? Oh, look, you got an editor. Maybe refreshing?
Yes, I'll try that.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
here,
yeah,
Matt.
I can see
right?
the people in there.
Yeah, so save, there you go.
Yay, now I'm
Yay, so I wanted to give you that. But let's say I'm like, oh no, you're gonna ruin my design. I don't want you to participate. Boom, I quickly change it to view, and that's it. Okay, so that's one way to use it in person, synchronously or remote. Another thing I wanted to show you, and this is actually one of the teachers I worked with last year. Judy, in a minute. Somebody, Margarita said, why do I want to duplicate this? I tell you what, a very good example of why do you want to duplicate this. So this teacher from OBT, she was working on slopes, right? She was working and she wanted each of the groups she had to work on categorizing, classifying these slopes and telling the slope. So what she did was she created, let's navigate it, next frame. So she created this, let me move this around. Right? This was like a formative quiz, whatever. So she created this frame, right? And she duplicated, she made 9 frames of the same thing. So she worked on this, right? And then she assigned, see, these students, Patty, Shakimer, Tyrell, Teddy, you know, each of the students had a frame and they had to, this is the instruction page, right? And they had to actually, with sticky notes, kind of fill out all this information. So you could see, right? All of the students submitted that, and this was done synchronously. Judy, you had a question.
Yeah, I had a question before this one when you showed us about, you know, doing the background where nobody can, you know, that it was fixed in the background. And
Right.
when you were showing that, you had on the right-hand side, you had words that were sideways in red. How did you get that to happen? How do you rotate it that way?
Oh, now you remember?
Well, I did at the time you did that, and I sent you a private message, but I guess you didn't have to. Not when we, you know, not when you were doing this. The other example where you had, you know, the KN, the KN,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Okay,
KNW template.
oh, I see what you're saying. Here.
Yeah,
Okay,
how
so
did you get that to happen? How did you
nice.
do that?
Good question. So I remember now. So what I did when I was building my frame, what I did was I clicked on the text, right? And I typed it, right? And then I rotated it. And I moved it.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that easy. That looks so cool.
Yeah. And then what I did was I kind of like, all right, let me put it in the middle, right? So I go here, I play with it, and then I'm gonna make it blue because I like blue a lot. So that's it, boom. That's how I did it. So one thing,
Thanks.
you're welcome. So another thing you could do synchronously in the class, take a look at this. This is the water cycle. If you're teaching GED, you know this is everywhere. So they need to do the water cycle. So what I did was I found a picture of an empty water cycle, right? This is the water cycle without label. And what I did was I went to shapes, right? And I selected the rectangle or the whatever, and then I kind of bring it over. And whenever I want to call the student attention, right, I put it right here, right? So they could, when I share the link with them, fill out the information I want. This is another way you could use it. You create your own diagrams, you set as a background the picture, you create your shapes so they could fill it out inside, right? And they could complete that. And the way they will do it is by adding text. They bring the text and they said, say the sun, right? And that's how they fill out everything. That's another way they could use it remotely. And another, I had that example, and this I have for us to try today, actually, it's your activity. So I'm going to check the chat. Okay, so yeah, that work that Barbara did was really beautiful with the slope. She created like a podcast. It was a podcast on the slope, and she amplified. So they were kind of blogging, but they were actually doing Jamboard as a base to annotate everything. So I have an activity. Nella, how are we doing with time? Good?
Yep, we're good. Keep going.
We're good. So I have an activity for you today, and I want us to try, in groups now. If you can help me with that. So I want to make good groups. So I create this activity for you, and I want to, so this is the poem. I've selected a poem for today, and the poem has to do with the turtles in the Gulf, and the author is a renowned poet, and her best work is known for focusing on environmental issues and indigenous people activism, and it's a kind of targeting 8th grade level. I got the poem, and I want to analyze the poem with you by amplifying the use of Jamboard while synchronously teaching. So this is the poem. Frame number 1 has the poem for you, and I want you to analyze it, and I want you to do activities while analyzing this. So so you're gonna have the poem, and if you navigate to the next frame, we're using a text rendering protocol called the 4 A's. This is a text rendering protocol called the 4 A's. The 4 A's because everything starts with an A. So you add, what do you agree about within the text? What assumptions does the author of the text hold? What do you want to argue within the text? And what part of the text do you want to act upon? So in your groups, when we put you in your groups, you go to your panel number 2 or to your frame number 2. And here you have your instructions. Let me point it out with the laser. So once you get in your groups, I want you to duplicate this frame number 2, and I want you to claim it. Say Nell and we're gonna work in group number 3. So I want you to duplicate this frame, right? Now we're on frame number 3. Take a look at it, and I want to use a sticky note, and I want to put Nell and Liz Elena. So I'm gonna claim it. This is ours, Nella and Liz Elena, right? So I want you to briefly read the poem in your group, and I want you to tell me one thing that you agree with, one thing, and I want you to add text. So you go, I agree, blah, 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 right? Here, sorry about the typo. Here, I want you to write one assumption. Does the author hold? One assumption. And the way I want you to answer this is by actually adding the sticky note. You save it and you bring it over. Here, I want it to be your choice. What do you want to argue within the text? You could actually write text or add a sticky note, your choice. And the last one, which I add, what part of the text do you want to act upon? I want to give you the choice to actually add an image. So you could search something that comes to mind. So let's say turtles. And then you pick on it, right? And you insert it. And then you move it, you reduce it. So I want you to express the part you want to act upon this text by inserting an image, or actually you could draw something with the pen, whatever comes to mind. So I'm going to check the chat.
And Liz Elena, how many groups did you want to break into?
So how many? We're 22.
We're 24 people. Yeah, 22 people.
So you and I are 20. So there will be 20. What do you think? Like we make like 5 groups?
Sure. And you'll give them the link to the jam in the chat. Gotcha. Okay. And I think there was a question about, so people will be able to move inside the Jamboard and go to the poem and then move back to their page or their frame where they'll be putting their answers in.
Yeah. They're actually, you remember, navigate through the frames. So you're joining, you have editing rights already, but wait for your group, okay?
So get that link will be there available even when you're in your breakout group. So should I go ahead and break them out, or you have last minute?
I was just like, is there any question about, Nella and I will kind of walk around to help you, right? Within the groups, but I wonder if you have any questions. The instructions are right there for you.
I just have one question. Just based on what Nell just said, are we not supposed to click on the link until after we're in a breakout room?
You can click on it now. Sorry, Judy.
Oh, okay, thank you.
For people who accidentally didn't do that, you still have access.
Yeah. So the poem that you're analyzing in your group, which is actually I selected it short, so you go grade level about 8th grade text level. I want you to read it, and we're analyzing using one of my favorite protocols for analysis of any kind of text, which is the 4 A's.
And how long are we giving them? Sorry.
Then you tell me how long do we have?
Well, today's gonna be one of those. Everyone's been very hungry for Jamboard, so we're very happy.
we are going to take questions, and the way we're gonna organize this question, Nella and I, is we're gonna go by groups. So we're gonna take questions, and there were like 4 groups, I believe.
5.
5, thank you. There were
That's
5
fine.
groups, and I am going to share the screen, and I'm gonna call each group by working on their frames. So let's say, well, group 1, there you go.
Yeah, we lost the poem. I want you to know the poem doesn't exist anymore in frame 1. It's gone.
Oh, that's I wonder why they deleted my poem. That's so sad.
Yeah, I know that we had a problem. We couldn't continue.
This is very intriguing to me because, oh, well, they deleted the frame. That's why, okay, this thing, wow, that hasn't happened to me with any student. I thought of it, we were.
But it's a good
But you
sign that
know,
people.
this is typical what
around.
happens in
Yeah.
Jamboard with students, where things get deleted.
All right. So the first thing, let's talk a little bit about management. When we work with these tools, our recommendation is to spend some time teaching the tool, becoming familiar with the tool, and creating routines and rules to work with the tool. So before introducing content, you were put today to content and the tool. So we never do that, right? With the students, what we do is we play with the tool, we teach the tool without any content added, and then we create collectively with the students rules and routines. And one of the rules that is always created, you never delete your classmate work and never delete your teacher instruction Jamboard, right? Never do that. And if you do it, accident happens, immediately communicate your teacher, right? Immediately communicate your teacher. So that's very important with that before introducing the tool. Teach the tool, create your rule and routines collectively. And communication, if this happened, communicate your instructor so your instructor can reestablish what was lost. All right. So I'm gonna go to group number 1 here. And it's Silmarie. So Silmarie, Jan, and Tracy, do you have any questions about this work? Silmarie, Jan, and Tracy, do you have any questions?
I actually have a question just about the deleting. I don't think we did it, but I just want to know, how would we know who deleted? Because it only disappeared like the last 58 seconds. As soon as you said the breakout rooms are going to end in 58 seconds, like that's when it got deleted. So how would we know?
I will never know. I could go to history to the version, which I'm not going to do that detective work, but I could go.
Could you just tell us how it happens? Like even if you don't know who, because we wouldn't even know how it happened is what I'm saying.
Yes.
So just so we know as teachers.
Right. So what happened?
Where is the delete?
Is it possible to have embedded the poem as a hard, so that, like you were showing us before about the template with the
background?
Is that possible to embed it where they can't be touched?
It was a background. What happened, Tracy, was somebody went here to the 3 dots. See the 3 dots? And they click on it and they see it.
Okay.
Right? Somebody was playing with it, which is fine. I love the playing with it. That's why we're here. It's not a big deal, okay? So somebody went to the 3 dots and deleted it.
Okay.
Now, it was a background, and I believe I have it. Give me a minute, desktop. So I'm gonna browse, and I believe I have it still because I was prepared. There you go, poem. See?
Yes. Okay.
So I had it as an image. So guess what? If somebody communicate that to me, I have it again.
Right. Okay. It only happened, I think, to everybody within the last, like less than a minute left.
It's okay. So somebody kind of went to the 3 dots, and maybe they wanted to duplicate it and they delete it. That's my thinking. Maybe they wanted to duplicate it and they deleted it.
And Rosalina, if you deleted it and you did Control Z after that, would it undelete it?
Let's try. That's a good question. Because it's never happened to me. So delete it. I delete it right now, and I'm gonna do. There you go. I did undo, and I'm gonna delete it again. And I'm gonna delete it, and I'm gonna Control Z now. See?
Yep. So Control Z didn't work.
Didn't work,
but the back arrow did.
But the back worked. So
that's helpful.
There you go. and I'm gonna add the poem again. So the way I'm gonna add those poem again, I'm gonna go to this frame that is empty, right? Frame number 7, and I'm gonna set the background, call the poem again, as my poem is right here. Boom, upload it, and that's it. My poem is back. And the way I'm gonna move the frame, right? I want it to be the first one, so I'm gonna move the frame over here to the beginning as it was. All right, so it's right here, not frame number 1. So, all right. Still, Marie, any other question? You good? Tracy, as a question. Okay, I'm gonna move ahead.
I have echo because I don't know how to
Got it.
disconnect from the.
You chat it.
I don't know how to log out from the other Silmarine that exists in here.
Gotcha. I might be able to go in and.
Yeah.
I don't think I can do anything
If you,
either. It's all good. If you have questions, Marisa, you could type them in the chat maybe. Or you
okay.
can ask them. We
Thank
can
you.
deal with the echo.
So I'm gonna go to Margarita. Do you have any question on Maria?
No, I don't have any question. Thank you.
Okay. So I don't have a name here. So Judy, Madeline, and Iman, do you have any questions?
Yes, I mean, I have a question that first of all has to do with the format that you have. So, we already talked about the poem, and the poem was white inside the blue background, right? Now, each one of these other panels have the instructions, right? Now, how those can't be deleted accidentally, right?
My instruction, no, this is part of I set it as a background. Nothing.
The whole thing,
You-
the
you
whole
could-
thing, right?
Go ahead.
But you
now.
could right. So the problem that happened in that first losing the poem was because someone deleted the whole page. You could delete that whole page, Judy, and that would be the equivalent, right? So it's not that the background got deleted, it was that the whole frame was deleted. And the same
Oh,
here.
okay. Thank you,
this is the
Nell.
back- yeah.
I wasn't clear about how, exactly. So you
Yeah.
think it was more like a delete than a duplicate, right, Nell?
Exactly, because you had those two. So when you click on those 3 dots, you have a duplicate and you have delete, right? So the 2 opposite
Right.
things, and it'd be very
I'm gonna
easy.
show it again.
Yeah.
So look, you have delete and you have duplicate. What I'm thinking is somebody tried to duplicate the poem, right? And they accidentally hit delete.
Okay,
But
I got it.
we learned together today. So if you delete, you go to the
back arrow.
undo button and it's back. So if I want to have a blue, oh no, on the right. No, it doesn't work. This is a background. Shame on me. So
I
no-
don't think it was deleted.
You don't
I
think
think it was
deleted?
only the like the images that were uploaded.
No, it was a
Because
background.
we could see the blue frame, sorry, we could see the background, but we couldn't see the poem.
That I don't know how that will happen because
We could see that,
That's exactly what we saw, just the blue.
just the blue.
well,
this-
that's very interesting.
Too. The same with my group. It was just the blue background that you chose with nothing else.
So,
That's a mystery.
right,
That's a
it's a
mystery.
mystery. I mean, someone could have added another slide, another frame. and
yeah.
made the blue
So
background.
look, so
Yeah.
I create so somebody could deleted it and maybe somebody try, and you go like this and you make it blue again, and that's what you see. So again,
Yeah.
if I go like here, I upload the poem again, boom.
Right.
But I think the main point here is that the background is our powerhouse, right? Because that means that no one could go in here and delete any of the words, but they can't even delete the image on there. Just like with all your pages where you're putting your answers, none of you could actually mess with any of those boxes. But
Right.
You could
Right.
you can delete the whole page, or you can go in and accidentally delete other people's
delete it.
work on there,
Yeah.
which would be the
Yeah.
annotation component. Yeah.
Now, one thing
Yeah, that's so like when you were asking about questions, and this is something that you experienced when you joined our group, and that is we kept getting bumped. People were bumped. We started off in panel 2 and we wound up in panel 6. Somehow or
So-
other, the other groups kept bumping us off their
Julia,
panels.
said, you know, like when you work with your students, and believe me, I mean, like many teachers work with these frames, you know, as I said, teach the tool first without the content. Teach the tool, teach the tool. Have students become familiar with the tool and establish rules and routines. One of the rules is never delete your teacher frame. So I always have a frame that is for me, and they don't duplicate, they don't delete, they don't touch that, right? And never delete your classmates frames either. And if it happens, undo button, right? Just undo button if you want to do it, or communicate with your teacher so your teacher can do it. Another thing I do is when I have a lot of groups, a lot of the students in the group, I kind of pre-create the groups. When Nell said, okay, let's put you in the breakout room, what I do goes, we read the breakout room and we say, Iman, Madeline, Nikki, and Judy, you're group number one. You're group number one, okay? Iman, Madeline, Nikki, and Judy, group number one. And then I say, Nikki, you're responsible. You write the names of the group. So you kind of pass the, you know, kind of establish clear directions, but pass on the responsibility to them. That's part of something we gotta do. One thing I wanted to show you before I pass it over to Nella or more questions. One of the interesting things about this, if you move your eyes up to your upper right corner, you see 3 dots here next to share. Every time you see 3 dots in Google, that means more actions, more things that you could do. When you click on that, are you following? I'm gonna wait a little bit. So you move your eyes up to your right corner, upper right corner, you see 3 dots. Every time you see 3 dots in Google stuff, is more things. There are more things here. So you click on more things. And one thing I could do is, which let's say I really like the work Iman, Madeline, Nikki, and Judy did. And I want to establish this. I want to save it as a sample. So you could download it as a PDF. You could save as an image. So let's say I want to save it as an image. Boom, save it as an image. So I have it, right? So let's say I'm going to go to frame number 11, right? And I want to upload that work as a sample. So I'm going to browse it. I'm going to upload. Actually, I'm going to bring it over. So I'm going to bring it over. There you go. So if you go now to frame number 8, frame number 8, this now, the work of Iman, Madeline, Nikki, and Judy becomes a background, and nobody can move it, and you could use it as a sample. You know what I mean? Like, and the way I did that was I went up right, I went up and right, and there are 3 dots next to share where it says more actions. And Nell told me that in Google, every time you see 3 dots like that, that means there is more. So you click on the 3 dots and there is more. So you could rename it, download it as a PDF, save it as an image, remove it, make a copy, blah, blah, blah. And this is Tracy, where you see the version history. So you could be a little detective and see what happens. When I get upset when I'm sharing documents with my colleagues, I do that. When I get upset and I say, who was here on that day at this time? But that's embarrassing, so I stopped doing that.
So Margarita has a comment in the chat about how you created the blue background. So you did you do this where you made an image from one that you made, or did you? Anyway,
the image was blue, so
background was blue. So
yeah,
so Margarita, you could totally do it this way, in the sense that you could make a single frame and then do that more 3 dots more and make that into an image and then use it that way. You could, there's a number of ways to do that, right? Because you could just duplicate once you've made the image. Right, so I think that's the question, Elena. When the image, the background that was on the page, on the frames that the participants were actually writing on, how did you make that background?
okay, so perfect. So I'm gonna begin with the scratch, right? Let's say, okay, I'm gonna set a background, a different one. I'm on frame number 9. So I'm gonna upload an image, and I want to make that a background. Let's see. What do I have here? Ticket 1, ticket Julia. What is this, Julia? All right. All right, there you go. that's my UDL image, which is a background. Meaning, if you go to frame number 9, this is the background. You cannot mess up with my design, right? The only thing you could do is annotate. You could add.
But I think going back to the ones that you actually had them answering on, right? So it's a blue background that you clicked on blue background, you put in white boxes, you labeled those. And then how did you make that into a background versus a movable?
Got it. I got it. So I'm going to put a shape just to distinguish. Say, I want to do this and I'm going to duplicate it. I want to do a little Venn diagram here. Okay, give me a minute. So I'm going to make it transparent so it's a real Venn diagram so students can write on it. All right, ready? I'm going to make this an image because I want this to be a background, right? I want this not to move it. I don't want my student to mess up this. And I want to put these actually bank. I want to make the way I really like Venn diagrams, which is they write the summary right here. This is my favorite type of Venn diagram. So, okay, ready? Go up to your upper right corner. Go to your upper right corner and there are 3 dots. Go to your upper right corner, there are 3 dots in between the share and all the many faces and animals that we have here. There are 3 dots right there and it says more action. If you hover over, there are more actions. So you click on more actions and I'm gonna save frame as image. Hover over, 3 dots, click on it, right? You got a drop down menu. The 3rd choice I have is save frame as image. So I'm going to save frame as image. I got it. It's saving. Boom. Now, notice I'm going to move to frame 11. I'm going to move to frame 11. It's white. It's blank. It's a blank canvas right now. I'm going to upload it. I'm going to go to set background, and I'm going to add my own image. Remember, I converted it into an image. Don't forget. So I'm going to set image and I'm going to grab it and drop it. Now, friends, go and try to mess up with my background.
So Liz Elena, that
Yes.
was fantastic. And I think that answered exactly that question. There've been a couple of comments about using Jamboard with low-level students and concerns that it might be very complex. So obviously the level, so there's 2 elements to this, right? There's a technology tool and giving instructions on how to use the technology tool and their ability to do that. And then there's the content. So to me, you could definitely have low level content in there. I gave an example of like, you know, the background is actually a picture of an apple, and then the students come in and they use the sticky notes to write whatever fruit they think it is, or there's a person's face and they write what emotion that person has or whatever it is. They would certainly have to learn that process of going to the sticky note and typing into it, but it would actually be just that. You don't have to do any of these other complicated things. But certainly might not be the thing you want to do with low level.
No, certainly might not be the thing you want to do. And of course, with level 1, you know, I will use it differently, obviously, you know, very, I think a Jamboard for synchronous teaching is useful because you could upload images on the spot, right? You could upload images on the spot. You could type on the spot, right? You could, Lori, you're muted, but you could unmute yourself.
That's what I'm thinking, is that not something that the students would work with.
No,
But something
no.
that, but like a tab that I would have open in Google,
Yes,
that I
yes.
can say, okay, a lot easier than using the Zoom tools of taking little.
For
like,
me, it is a lot
Yeah,
easier.
yeah, that might work. Like I can see this as being more useful than the Zoom whiteboard, like a good
I
alternative.
find
to
it
it.
more as a good alternative. You're right.
Yeah,
That-
yeah.
I
That's
will-
where I'm going with this.
I
And
will
Judy-
never. Yeah, sorry.
Well, no,
Oh,
just to say, you go,
Sorry.
Liz Elena. Go, Liz
Yeah,
Elena.
yeah. But what I was gonna say is I was scaffolded, of course, Lori. I'm not saying no, they'll never do that at low level, but you start that way. And I think by looking at the way, I think organically natural, Lori, they would say, how do you add that image? How? And they will learn on their own.
They might.
Now, the high level students in the HAC classes, Lori, I love it because you know what? Now we're teaching a lesson now. And instead of me forcing them to use the graphic organizer I want them to use, I say, what graphic organizer will you use to organize this information?
Mhm.
And these students now, they manipulate the shape, they use sticky notes, and they're
Mhm.
organizing their understanding and showing me not only, this teaches a literacy at max, you know, like not only they're understanding content, but they're actually organizing that content using the tool that they're literate now with. But it's
And
not
that-
a one, gradually.
And
I
that
got you.
piece of deciding which tool to use is actually a huge piece of digital literacy, right? So for you as a teacher, for any kind of learner, why are you using which tool you're using? You know, how does it benefit? How does it support the teaching? I think, you know, Judy had asked earlier about annotation, and to me, this, I think that's what you're talking about, Lori, too, where using this, you know, you put a piece of text as a JPEG image in the background, and then
Background.
everyone's looking at it together, but the teacher or one person is in there circling things or whatever. And so it doesn't mean that the students are necessarily interacting with it. The teacher might be using it as a presentation tool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Exactly. For annotation, one thing, Lori, that with the HAC students, you know, we work a lot with
I used to. Yeah.
text analysis and things like that. So let's say I'm looking for, I know, topic sentences or themes, emerging themes. So I like this because I go to the highlighter, I go to my highlighter, and this is an emerging theme. So I kind of point the attention right here to the sentence.
Yeah.
Of course, yellow will be much better, right? So kind of I point where I want, let's say British Petroleum. So I point attention. So it's totally to annotate and work on with the text, phenomenal. And then you're analyzing this, right? And the students could analyze it with you with sticky notes. I'm fine for the words that point to the theme. So super interactive.
and Judy's point also, and someone else said that they were actually doing it today on their phone. So obviously, again, whenever you're choosing the tools you're using, you're thinking about how the students are going to have
That's very
access.
true.
So if you're in a classroom and you know you're going to have computers, that's a different situation than if you're maybe doing it over Zoom and you think they're doing it on their phone, or even if you're in class and you don't have computers, but people maybe have their phones. I know, I think it was Marika who tried to have students were making Google Slides on their phones, which is very, or she tried to make
Oh, wow.
Google Slides on her phones. But certain things work, right? Just putting an image in a Google Slide is actually not hard on a phone if it's all, if you have the app and maybe you have images on your phone, then you can actually do that. So there are ways to do certain things.
I have used the Jamboard with the iPad. I've not used it. I have an iPhone 12, which has a little, big screen. So I've used the iPad and it works beautifully because then I can write, I can it's a touch screen device. So I can actually work with it and it's super, super easy. So definitely Jamboard works really well with the phone and iPads, I can say.
I had a class this week. I gave them some flashcards for some simple vocabulary words in Flippity. And one of the students went to that ... more, opened up Flippity, and the next thing you know, she was doing crossword puzzles, word searches, and she was posting them on the WhatsApp. The other students were finding out, saying, how can I do it? So I let her come to class and I screen shared, and she showed the whole class, and now they're making, snowman games with the vocabulary words.
That's fantastic. Okay, so we don't have very much time. Lori, did you have more to add?
No, that's it. No,
Okay.
I'm done. Sorry.
So we are out of time. The other elements. I mean, I think this is perfect, right? So we've been hungry for Jamboard for a while. So I'm really glad we got to spend the time today. We will come back and look at the other tools, but you have the slides and you can look through them. I did want to show you. So Judy was asking me, how do you make your cursor or your pointer larger? How do you change the color and the size of your pointer? And you can see mine now, right? Giant pink. Do you see it? Are you seeing my big giant pink cursor?
It's not pink. Oh, now it's pink. Yeah, I see it. It's
So-
small. It's small right now.
On I'll take a screenshot. On mine, it's like an inch big. So apparently it doesn't show very well on the screen for you guys. But the way you change the pointer color and size on your phone, on your computer, is down. And let's see, let me stop sharing this and share my screen. Maybe that will make a difference So if I'm looking at my screen right now, you guys are seeing, do you see my cursor any better? I don't know.
It's still small.
It's small.
It's
Okay.
still small now,
So down at the
but it's
bottom.
pink,
Okay, at least
but
it's
it's
pink.
pink.
That's good. So down at the very bottom of my screen, and it'll be a little different on everyone's computer, but there's a search bar. So if you want to change the size and color of your pointer, you click on the search and you type in, I think it was just pointers, yeah, mouse pointer style.
Nice.
Oops. And as I'd already done it, it's going to show up for me very easily. And so these are controls. Oh, no, it did the wrong thing. Sorry. Demonstrating it well for you.
So it's through settings on your computer, right?
Correct. Correct. So
There you
you'll
go.
probably find it it's under accessibility, but it's just easy to type it in. So you can change the size. I picked custom. I could change the color.
And the size you could change.
And then I changed the size and I made mine quite large. Like it sounds like that hasn't impacted what you see, but if I was doing screenshots right now, I mean, honestly, it's huge. So anyway, just know that you can do kinds of things like that, because that does help when you're trying to demonstrate stuff on your screen, is having a different pointer. And I think, are there other ones? Yeah. So there are interesting different things you can have there. So you can play with that. That can be that's your Thanksgiving
Thanks,
present.
Nell.
Yes,
Thanks.
sure thing. So let me stop sharing that. So I'm going to put the slides again. Well, actually, you have the slides. They were in the chat. I'm going to send you an email in the next, probably early next week, that will have the recording of this. Our slides will be up on our blog. I am going to ask you to fill out an evaluation. We don't do an evaluation every session, but we're going to do it once a quarter, just so I can get a little feedback from you. Let me get that right now. I have a link. And we will, like I said, we'll cover the stuff that wasn't covered today, but at least you have access to it. But we'll do it in some future session. Let me just put this in the chat. So if you wouldn't mind filling out that evaluation, and then we're done for this meeting, which is fantastic. It was great to have you all here. There's a lot of really great activity, and Liz Elena, Jamboard goddess, thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's always nice to be here.
Yes. So now you all need to turn around and play with Jamboard when you're bored over the long weekend, and come back with your questions.
Come back
and
with questions,
suggestions.
right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Email us, come back, ask, if we know the answer, we answer. You don't know.
Yes. Or you may come up with an answer or new discoveries. So that's very exciting. So do the evaluation. You'll get an email from us in the next couple of days with links to everything, and stuff will be up on YouTube and on our blog. And our next meeting is actually we're not going to have one in December because it was too close to the holidays. But we will have one in January, and the links are in the slides, but I'll send those to you in the email too. So
Neil, there is no for today. It's from last month.
which ones from last month?
For blog to do evaluation.
Yes, I don't put up the blog until after the session. So
okay. We won't be able to do it today, right?
I won't
the evaluation.
do it. I probably won't get it done today. The video, so basically what happens right now is I have to take the video, put it onto YouTube, then I put it into, which just all takes a little time. So maybe I'll get it done today. Did you want it right now, Faina? Is that what you're excited
I
about?
was just wondering, okay. Last stupid question. When we were doing this in group, Jamboard, we won't be able to share a screen, right? We were doing it individually.
You should have been able to share a screen. I didn't change the settings, but so the settings were not, I know, but when you were in there, I had not changed the settings. So my settings were that only presenters could share their screens. I did change it, but it was towards the end. So then you should have been able to do that. You should be able to share your screen in your group if the settings are correctly set
We
up.
wanted to call 911,
Well, you know what I discovered today? So someone else came out and asked for help. So you can come and ask us for help and let me know next time if you can't do it. We'll be better at remembering. And then
Yeah, is that under reactions? Where do you get that? I forgot.
I didn't. Who did
The
it?
ask for help.
someone did it today. I don't remember who it
Someone
was.
called for help.
I don't remember.
I think Madeline was there, but I'm gonna
We'll
review
find out.
because while Nell was explaining, they were asking the same question. So you couldn't share the screen in the breakout room because we didn't change the settings, right? But if when Nell changed the settings, then you have been able to share, but it was towards the end. But it's not something that is broken down because it's Jamboard. It's just because we control when you're teaching, you control the settings. And when you control the settings, you have to give accessibility.
Right. It was a Zoom issue rather than a Jamboard issue, and it was a Nell issue rather than a Zoom issue even. So yeah, we'll get it right next time.
We're good. Don't blame
anyway.
the Jam.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you for, as always, a wonderful workshop. I don't know, it's really funny, Nell. A long time ago, I said to you, we need to go from 1 hour to to make it longer. We went to 1.5. I don't know, maybe longer. I don't know, in
Maybe
2023. I don't know, Nell and Liz, what do you think?
I think our goal is to we'll have a discussion. We can talk about it next time. I think the idea is to keep it shorter, but maybe just have one tool. Is this fantasy I have of like, we'll cut out 4 tools and interaction at the same time. It'll be wonderful. So maybe just one tool, because today actually wasn't that bad. I think we were okay. But I don't want to make it too long because it's such a commitment for people, and I'm so happy that so many people are coming frequently. Anyway,
listen, I'm grateful you went from 1 hour to 90 minutes. Okay, I'm really grateful that you did that.
I think that was good. Yeah. All right, take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Happy
Have a great
holidays.
holiday weekend.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving and
holidays.
Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year, right?